Welcome back to Satisfactory. I've done a fair amount of menial work in between the episodes while I was waiting for the hard drives to complete their 10-minute long scanning. So I have completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hard drives. The 10th one is in the MAM. So I'll just go through the list of what I got and explain why I've chosen what I've chosen. With the first hard drive, I got the option of fine concrete, which uses 3 silica and 12 limestone to generate 12 concrete. Quartz, which is needed to make silica, is a very rare resource which we do need. So this is a quite bad recipe. And there is not very much quartz in our general vicinity out here anyways, and there are far better recipes for concrete than that one, so not taking that. The other option I got was the pure caterium ingot, which takes 2 caterium ore and 2 water, and makes 1 caterium ingot from that. That's a good recipe, but it is an endgame recipe, so I skipped that one as well. And the one that I chose was the caterium wire, which is 1 caterium ingot into 8 wire. Now this isn't the best recipe, and I'm probably not going to be using this one, but it was the best one out of those 3. On the next hard drive, I got the choice between a pure copper ingot, that is 6 copper ore and 4 water to 15 copper ingots. This is an okay recipe. Especially when we are in the area we are, where there are not many copper nodes. There is only a few pure ones, and most of them are actually impure out in the desert. But the water is annoying, so I didn't take that one. I also got the option for a fused quick wire, which is 1 caterium ingot and 5 copper ingots into 12 quick wire. This is an okay-ish recipe. I mean, you convert some copper into caterium, basically, but it isn't the best one, so... Then I did get the steel screw recipe, and that's one of the best recipes in the game. 1 steel beam to 52 screws. It's one of those recipes you just must take, so that one was a good one. Then I got, on the third hard drive, I got this choice of pure copper ingot again. Already explained what that does. I got the option for charcoal, which is 1 wood into 10 coal, which is a horrible recipe. I don't know why you would ever want to use that. And then I got the pure caterium ingot again, the one that uses water. And of those 3, I chose the pure caterium ingot. There are only 2 caterium nodes in our near vicinity, 1 normal, 1 pure. Might be a third one. But since we do have water and having more caterium is okay, I picked this one. On hard drive number 4, I got the choices of steel rotors, which is 2 steel pipes and 6 wire to 1 rotor. This adds some simplicity, since it uses the same ingredients as stators, and that is helpful when setting up a production line for motors. So this one is a recipe that I want to take, but not yet. I then got the choice of steel rod, which is 1 steel ingot into 4 iron rods. Again, this is one of the best resources in the game. I would have taken this if not for the other one that I got, which is the solid steel ingot. The solid steel ingot adds some complexity to the steel smelting in the way that it takes 2 iron ingots instead of ore, and combines that with 2 coal into 3 iron ingots. So it is not as good as the steel rod recipe, but it makes steel smelting so much simpler because the foundry will then output 60 instead of 45 steel, and we do have the power for it, and yeah, so this one was the one that I chose. Hard drive number 5, I got the choice between compacted coal, that is 5 coal and 5 sulfur, which then makes 5 compacted coal. This is a must-have recipe. You must take this recipe, because without this recipe there are some endgame resource recipes that you can't do actually. I also got, again, the steel rotor recipe, but then I got the steel rod recipe, which I mentioned in hard drive number 4, and then obviously I picked the steel rod recipe. On hard drive number 7, I got the choices between an iron alloy ingot, which is 2 iron ore and 2 copper ore into 5 iron ingots. It might be worth it for the iron, but I think we're going to need more copper than that, so it's not too good when you're out in the desert at least. I also got the option for copper rotors, which is 6 copper sheets combined with 52 screws, which then outputs 3 rotors. Note that these are not per minute, this is per cycle. So this is a good recipe, but the lack of copper in this desert means that it is rather weak here, so maybe later. And what I just said about this being per cycle applies to all of the recipes that I have read so far, and also for the future recipes that I'm reading. The third choice was the iron wire, and this was a no-brainer for me. 5 iron ingots into 9 wire. And there's a massive overweight of iron in this particular area that we're in, so this is a massively strong recipe for this area of the map before we get the opportunity to either make long belts or trains to get resources in from other parts of the world. So this was the one that I picked. Hard drive number 8, we got the choice between compacted coal, iron alloy ingot, and charcoal again. And then I took the compacted coal, because that means I don't have to worry about that. Then I have it. The 2 others are, as I've mentioned previously, not very useful. Hard drive number 9. We're reaching the end now. I got the choice between fused quickwire, which I've already mentioned earlier. Then I got the wet concrete recipe. 6 limestone, 5 water into 4 concrete. That is a very good recipe. It's actually one of the best recipes. But I do have plenty of limestone around here. There are several normal limestone deposits around the area, and the other recipe that I got is much better. So the one that I chose was the copper alloy ingot. That one takes 10 copper ore and 5 iron ore, and it outputs 20 copper ingots. This is again one of the best recipes in the game. It's perfect both in space reduction, in ore consumption, and even power consumption. So this one is also one of those you want this recipe kind of recipe. And for the 10th and final hard drive before we go to the MAM, I got the... oops, my pen came or was close to the microphone there. I got again the bio coal. This one converts 5 biomass into 6 coal. Useless recipe. I got the option for a pure copper ingot, which is 6 copper ore and 4 water into 15 copper ingots. This is also a good recipe, but when we get the copper alloy ingot, I consider this one moot. So the recipe that I chose on the 10th hard drive was the steel frame. The steel frame recipe takes 2 reinforced iron plates and 10 steel pipes. And now, since I've forgotten to write it down, let's go into the codex. Steeled... No, it isn't here. Okay, recipes, parts, modular frame. Okay, so it outputs 3. Oh, it actually is per minute. Sorry about that. I didn't think it was per minute. So all of the recipes that I've mentioned are per minute. That's surprising. Steel... Let's see. No, it can't be. Iron rod... No, it can't be. Because 48 per minute. 1 to 4. Let's go back to the modular frame. Well, okay. So the cycle is... per 60 seconds, that's why it adds up. So 2 reinforced iron plates and 10 steel pipes outputs 10 modular frames. This is a strong recipe. and especially so when combined with the solid steel ingot recipe, which I have also taken. So, yeah. You should be aware of this codex. It's a very handy in-game reference to look up. I find it to be a little bit lacking because it doesn't... Well, it does if I do the math. So this one has 10 cycles. So it would take 30 to output 20 per minute. But for some of the more advanced recipes, particularly the ones that... Let's see if I can find one of those. I don't know if I have any of them. Probably not. Yeah, here we go. 22.5 per minute. Then you would have to do 3 times 22.5 and so forth. So you can't easily do this without a calculator, which is why I tend to just quickly put up a constructor or an assembler to see these numbers per minute, because it's the per minute numbers I'm interested in. But it is very useful for many of the items, because most of them you can quickly do the mathematics in your head. Like this one, it would take 15 per minute to output 1500 per minute. And you can also check up the equipment here without having to go to the equipment crafting station. And you can also look at the buildings if you want to do that, what they require to build, and the vehicles when you get more of them. Okay. Right. Let's see here. I need to take a look at the spreadsheet that I'm looking at here. Pure copper ingot, the copper alloy ingot is better than this one. Compacted steel ingot, I'm not sure if that one is good. I suspect that it isn't the best one. No, it's a meh recipe, because it utilizes sulfur ultimately to produce steel, and sulfur is rare, so no. Gunpowder. I probably should research the basic recipe for gunpowder before I take the alternate recipe. It's well, you only need the gunpowder, or the black powder as it's called. You only need this. Wait, does this make sense? 2 sulfur, 1 compact. Yeah, it does make sense. You only need this to make ammo and explosives, so having a more efficient recipe for these really isn't necessary. So okay, out of these I'm going to pick the pure copper ingot because that's the one that makes most sense. I don't think we're going to use it, but then at least we have it. And we can put the final hard drive in here and scan it. Okay, now there is another thing that I want to address. I need to do a quick alt tab here. Ooh, not that much. Hold on, please. I need to find my mouse cursor, sorry. And then I need to go here and do this. I need to go to this video. Okay, here we go. Let's run over to the coal power plant. So, the comment that I got was that at the end of episode 10, there were 3 water extractors and 0 pipes. And at the beginning of episode 11, boom, presto, entire power plant already built, piping done for the most part, and no explaining the hard part of this tier. And that is a very valid comment. I made some assumptions there that this would be self-explanatory, which was a mistake on my end, because it isn't self-explanatory. So let's start at the very beginning of what is important here. One water extractor running at 100% will output 120 cubic meters of water per minute. One pipeline can comprehend or transport 300 cubic meters of water per minute. The current amount of water in pipe, don't pay too much attention to that because that's not really relevant. If this is full and the flow rate only goes up whenever something actually draws in water. So there is a max capacity of 300 cubic meters in flow rate. That doesn't really affect the amount of water that can be in a pipe. But the flow rate only raises, again, when this thing is actually pumping something into the pipe. Now I built 16 coal generators up there. And I realized that I've built those a little bit hanging out, but no matter. So what I did in my previous series was that I built 3 water extractors, which would then output 360 water per minute. And that meant that I would have to pipe in the final 60 at generator number 5 or 6, because a pipe cannot contain 360 water, or 360 cubic meters of water. So you would need 2 pipes going some way and then use a junction to get the final 60 cubic meters in at some point. You could either flip it in at the other side, or you could flip it in at the middle, or around number 5 or 6, as I mentioned. But let's go through the highlights that I've mentioned in my response. A pipe has a throughput of 300 cubic meters of liquid. That means oil, heavy fuel, or water, or whatever liquid we're dealing with. One water extractor running at 100% produces 120 cubic meters of water, which of course is a liquid. One coal generator requires 45 cubic meters of water and 15 coal. One water extractor running at 75% clock speed, like all of the water extractors down here are doing, will produce 90 each, 90 cubic meters of water, and thus is ratio efficient 1-to-1 with 2 coal generators. So one water extractor running at 75% speed will be just enough to supply 2 coal generators if those 2 coal generators get 30 coal. That is 15 each. And finally, when it comes to verticality, the height, you have to put 1 pump for every 20 meters of verticality. And it doesn't matter if a pipe is going straight up or if it's going from here in a bendy fashion up that way. It would still require a pump when the height of the pipe is 20 meters above the output here. Now there is a certain additional water pressure coming from the pump itself, or if you have an oil jack, I think it is, there is a certain amount of pressure coming from those buildings itself, but I would not count on that because the flow is not optimal based on that. You can actually get the flow up to 22 meters without a pump, but the pipe going at 22 meters will have less water inside than the one at 20 meters and below. So 1 pump every 20 meters, and note, you cannot chain pumps together. So you cannot, for instance, put 3 pumps, let's say on this pipe. If this was a vertical pipe, I couldn't just put 3 pumps in a row, and then that would push the water up 60 meters. It would push the water up 20 meters above the 3rd pump. And that's where the water would stop. So, with the above highlights that I've now made, what I'm doing down here is that I'm running 3 water extractors on this side and 5 water extractors on this side for a total of 8. And I've paired up these water generators, or water extractors. So these 2, they are on the same pipeline here, And this pipeline goes up together with a pump, because this is more than 20 meters, to the junction up there. These two water extractors have been paired together. As you can see, the pipe comes out here, and following the pipe, going to the junction here, the pipe goes down there, and then that goes up here with a pump and into the junction up there. These two extractors are paired together. You can see, follow the pipeline here to the junction. Same, goes down there to the junction. And that goes over here and up here with a pump to the junction up there. And then these two final water extractors, we can follow here. Here, up, and a turn, and then up with a pump to the final junction. So 4 separate pipelines, and each of these pipelines have a total throughput of 180 cubic meters of water, because that's what the 2 water extractors on each of the pipeline is capable of producing. Now if you take a look up here, the pipes here are, you see, sorry, I need to go in the right one. Here is one of the pipes coming up. The pump is just below us. It goes in here to the junction, and this junction sends the water out into that one. And here's a junction. One of these is connected to a generator. The other one over here is connected to a generator, and I'm using the junction here to not have a weird angle on the pipe. I want to have the straight angles here. So this is unnecessary. You could just make a direct connection over there. But for aesthetics, that's why I'm using so many pipe junctions up here. The only needed junctions up here is this one and this one, because this one could connect directly to the generator up there. I'm not sure if it would work. I would have to probably remove the floor, but yeah, you get the point here. So again, coming into the junction and then being split out through junctions to the 4 generators that this pipeline, which is 2 water extractors downstairs, are able to support. Now, for learning this, start small. For example, put up 2 generators or 4 generators, whatever you feel like, and put up 1 water extractor if you're doing 2. Put up 2 water extractors and combine them if you're doing 4 generators. Put the water generators at 75% clock speed. Make sure you have that available. You get that from the slug research in the MAM. And then when you get that working, increase the amount of generators in either 2s or 4s, depending on what you feel like, how you want to do your pipelines, until you have the number of coal generators that you want to have up and running. 8 is a good number to aim for, since a Mark II belt carries 120 coal, and that is exactly what you need to run 8 coal generators. 16 would also be a good number, especially when you get Mark III belts, because 16, that is exactly what you can, well, the Mark III belt is special since it has 270 instead of 240, which would be the logical. I don't know why they have picked 270, it seems a bit arbitrary, but I'm sure there are reasons for it. And then the final thing that I have to say about that is, when you're doing the coal generators, this is critical. I mean, this is your base power, and I see that I've made this belt angled. So this one is in the wrong position, but that's fine. So back to the point. When you're doing coal generators, it is a very good idea to use balanced splitting, or have a splitter at the beginning and then split with a belt going around all of the generators. So instead of building them this way, build them the other way, so that the back of the generators on this side and the front of the generators on this side, and have 2 belts running parallel or above and below one another, so that you get the belt split up so that it comes in from both sides, because it is much less chance that 4 generators, that it's the 4th generator in the middle, would struggle. from a manifold setup, rather than when you have a manifold setup, everything comes in there. Again, everyone, as I mentioned in the tutorial video, each of these splits 50-50. So this one will always be prioritized over this one, and this one will always be prioritized over this one, and so forth. And when you then get to the 8th one, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very, very high risk that this one will be starved for coal when you reach 90% plus, maybe even 85% plus of your total power capacity. And then you get that annoying chain reaction that you don't want to have. Also, as I already mentioned earlier, 8 coal generators requires 360 water, and you can achieve this in several methods. But the two most common methods is to either use 3 water extractors running at 100% clock speed and then pipe in the water either at the end, so you get water in from both sides, or on generator 5 or 6, so there or there. But I actually, if you have the room for it, I recommend using the 75% underclocking on the water generators and build 2 and 2 for 4 generators. You even save a little bit of power from that, so that means that you get more power net output from your coal power plants. Okay, I hope that clarified the coal and the pipes. I will be building more pipes in this series. I mean, we're going to come to the oil, and we're going to get to the alumina, which is... that's... if you think coal pipes is challenging, whew, is all I have to say then when it comes to the alumina. Man, that was really, really difficult. And yes, I will record setting up the alumina. Even if it takes me 2 or 3 episodes to do it, I will record setting it up as soon as I've planned it out in my head, because I don't want to do all the planning on camera. But the alumina and also the oil it's so important to show that off properly. And I want this to be a learning series, which is why I went back and revisited this now on video. For those of you who already understood that, I'm sorry if you felt that was boring to listen to, but I'm sure you can agree that for a new player, it is really important to get an understanding of how the pipes work properly for them to be able to play the game and enjoy it. Because if you're stuck on the pipes, then how can you enjoy the game? If you can't get that working, you're basically stuck there, and you can just as well just end the game and sit there. So yeah, I could probably go up and check the MAM, but I wanted to show what I've been doing. What I have been doing in the base here is that I've connected up the belts of steel and coal, I mean iron ore and coal to the foundries here. And I'm not going to use these because I have the better recipe. I have the solid steel ingot, which I want to use, but not everyone is going to be able to do that. So again, since this is a tutorial series, I think it is quite important that I actually show the basic way of doing this. So with 4 of these, which I recommend you start with 4 of these, this is going to give us an output of 2 belts with 90 steel ingots on each. And I think we want to turn around these belts, which means that I have to do all of this again. Okay, so this is the correct... Is this a splitter or is it a merger? What is this? That's a merger. I wish these things would snap, but they won't. So there. That should be directly underneath. Yes, thank you. And there. That should also be directly underneath. Thank you. And let's do this one as well. That does not look correct. There. I don't know why they stopped working with the snapping to the foundries. I have no idea what was the reasoning behind that. Probably a potentially it's just a bug they introduced. Now I need to remove the topmost of each of these. Ah, there's a belt there as well. Always remember to be take a look at the arrows, where the arrows are pointing. Especially when dealing with mergers. Splitters is not that bad because you can see the yellow tint on the input, whereas the other ones have a grey tint. That yellow tint will change if you change the color of your factory, by the way. Okay, now this needs to connect to... Ah, yeah, let's just do it the other way around. This needs to connect to this one. Good. This one needs to connect to this one. Good. I'm listening for that correct sound, that little slam boom sound, which tells me that it has connected up properly. And then we need to connect this one up. Good. And then this one finally. There we go. And then we can remove these. I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to end up crashing in these belts. I'm pretty sure I will, actually. I don't think I can connect a lift here, can I? No, I cannot. That's also something that I wouldn't accept inside the base. That needs to go, but not yet. What height is that on? 1, 2, 3, 4, I think? Looks like it's on 4. Oh, come on. Yeah, that looks correct. This is on 4. So this one would work to send out, but that one won't, because that one is on 5. The player is in the way, okay. And of course this needs to be something else than Mark 1 belts. It has to be Mark 2 belts. Connect that up to there, and connect this one to there. I haven't powered up yet, with good reason. I want to finish the belts first. So this one can go here, I think? No, that's one too far away. 2, 3, 4. That's the first one. Then I need 3 more, I think. And we connect that one. Whoa, those are autosaves. Connect that one up to there, and then we do this. And I'm pretty sure that connects to that one, because that one would be a downward slope. Yep. Okay, now what we need to do next, so we have 90 each. We need constructors here. Let's just put down a splitter. I need to make sure that it's on the correct angle. Wait, that's not where I want it. I want it to be in the middle of the... Yeah, that's not ideal. Okay, so we need to make a turn here. Okay, I'll put it in the middle of this. So there. And then we can have an assembler. 1. Okay, let's do this slower. 1, 2, 3. Turn the assembler around. And 1, 2, 3. Ah, perfect. That'll give us enough room. Then we need to put up, again, we need to make sure that the input is on the correct side. And there we go. I don't know if I want to bother having it that high. So we can go back to there and send it down again. Which means that one of these should be on level 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the other one should be on level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then... where is that? It's on the grate. So 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark II belt going from there to there. And Mark II belt going from there to there. And we can remove these. And this one connects up to there. And this one connects up to there. And then we do not need Mark II lifts to connect up these. Let's do that one to there. And that one to there. And this one goes here. And this one goes here. Now I can power these up. So connect the power line and boom. Now here I didn't bother with the... well, I might have to. No, I can just upgrade this power pole. I just connected everything clipping through the machines and stuff. No, I actually don't have to upgrade. Okay, so this one is on that line. Where's the correct place? There. 7. Yep. There. Well, this probably also isn't necessary for me to do because I'm going to tear down these machines as well because this is not where I want our steel production area to be. And then we connect up this one to there, this one to there, this one to there. We can do the loop here. And then we connect them to the machines as well. There we go. Okay, so we had 90 coming in on each side, which means that these will require 60, and these will require 30. So that's 90. On the other side, no, that's the wrong one. Pipes and beams. So this is one suggestion to how to do a basic steel setup. If you don't have enough raw materials to make 4 foundries, you can always go with 2 foundries and you have one making beams and one making pipes. But one thing that I have noticed, especially with the alternate recipes, is that you rarely need more than 2 of these producing steel beams. The primary recipe that we are going to need steel beams for, which is very important, is the encased industrial beams. But there is an alternate recipe for that one that takes pipes instead, which is very useful, because then you can just have a massive array of steel pipe production, and you can just have a few ones that are producing steel beams for the Mark III belts, because the steel beams are primarily used for making Mark III belts. So that is the main things that I wanted to show off for this episode in terms of production. I also want to show off the mining areas, and I've done a little bit of refurbishing out in the desert in terms of the belts. So we're going to go have a look at that too. But before we do that, we should go up here and take a look at that hard drive. I have none left, so this is the final one that I have for now. So here we have the iron alloy ingot, we have the wet concrete, and we have the steel rotor. And since motors is something that I'm going to have to produce very soon, and I do like this recipe because having the steel pipes instead of the default, let's see here, X parts, rotors. See, iron rods and screws. I can't produce stators yet because we need steel products to get the advanced. We need 200 pipes to get the stators. Here's the encased industrial beams as well. Let me just pause the recording while I get that, actually, so that I can show this and explain why I want that recipe. So I'll be right back. Here we are. Now I have the steel pipes that we need. Found some old steel bars lying around that I figured I could just handcraft into pipes. So let's send this one off.
Milestone reached. Improved miner included to double extraction rates and improve efficiency of new pipelines. A collection of new, more complex parts is now available for crafting. An additional project part can now be constructed. Further progress to the next phase is now possible.
That's going to be massively helpful. Let's just set the next milestone, which is going to be the hypertubes. Those will require industrial beams, but that is one that I really want to be able to travel quickly up and down between my various levels in the factory. So, if we now take a look at this, the steel rotor, and now I go into the codex and we go to parts and we take a look at the rotor again. So, rods and screws. And then we can take a look at the stator, pipes and wire. So with the default recipe for rotors, you would have to have a dedicated production line for the rotors, having rods and screws coming in. And I have other alternate recipes for the screws, of course, but by taking that alternate recipe for the rotors, again, pipes and wire. If we now take this alternate recipe here, it's going to take the same resources, which means we can make a back-to-back production line for rotors and stators dedicated to producing motors. The motors take 5 of each, if I don't recall wrong. I'm pretty sure it was 5 of each. Uh, 2, 2 to 1. This is why I prefer to put up an assembler, because that doesn't tell me much. Motor. No, 10 of each. 5 to 1, of course, is 10 to 5. So, 10 of each. So you would need 2 assemblers making rotors, I believe. Yep, that is 5 per minute. The stators isn't 5 per minute. The stators is something like 6 per minute or something? No, it is 5 per minute. So, 2 stator assemblers and 2 rotor assemblers for 1 motor assembler. And that's quite useful. So that's why I want to take this recipe here, because, less belts and less mess, even though we have more iron than copper. But I do have the iron wire recipe, so I can make the wire from iron as well. It's not top in efficiency, but it is still good. Then I also wanted, while I was here, I wanted to take the get the color gun. So let's start the research for that. We have plenty of flower petals lying around. Sort, thank you. And then we need to run downstairs. Whee! Also, if I haven't mentioned earlier, this is also a handy tip. If you build a lookout tower on foundations, aka on flat ground, and you have the blade runners equipped, you take no fall damage. That does not apply when you don't have the blade runners equipped, just so you're aware. I fixed this little thing here so that I have a buffer of coal in there. And the reason why I want that buffer is so that I have fuel for my vehicles. Then we can follow the line here. This is Mark II belts. The lower one containing iron ore, the upper one containing coal. Not steel ore, that would be interesting. And I've put them at a height so that I can drive underneath. I think I can even drive underneath with the biggest car. I don't remember the name of it. I also have one power pole per stackable conveyor pole array. That's also just a matter of personal taste and preference. You do your power poles the way that you feel. As long as you get power to the machines, that's not really a major concern. Here we can see the iron iron miners coming up and the coal miners in the back. So here you have the iron mining array. 2 Mark I belts coming into a merger, then merging them to the Mark II belt. And I have the Mark II belt of coal connected on top of there so that I get them on the line. Or rather on a miner bus. Here's another limestone deposit that I mentioned in the previous episode, I think. And here's the coal miners. Here I have a... I even have a floating foundation there. So yeah, again 2 Mark I because these are normal. Now I can build Mark II, so now I can get 120 out of each of them without overclocking, which is going to be nice. So that was the coal and iron that's going into one of the steel foundry arrays. And then we have the other stuff that I've also redone, which were the lines coming down from the old mines. The ones you can see in the distant... well, they're disappearing behind the dunes now, but... I might have to refill this thing with coal. Only 10 left in the engine currently, so do that, and on we go. You can probably already see that there's a bus going in there now. I had the belts running at ground level because I had to build them before I got the stackable conveyor poles, and that's rather annoying when you're driving or walking through the desert areas, so that's why I bust them instead. So first of all we can go down. This machine will behave. Let's park here. So we have here, this is a bus of 3 belts coming in. 1 Mark II belt with iron ore from the pure node that we have. 1 Mark I belt from the normal iron node, and 1 Mark II belt from the new iron ore node that I'm going to go out and visit. And then we have the copper on Mark I coming in from the one up there. And this is a bit more interesting now. This is not something that I would typically build, but it works. And since I'm going to move those foundries anyways, it's sufficient for now. So I built this out here and moved it a little bit so that I get them up on the belts like this instead. And here is of course the ore coming in on separate levels. The copper continues, the iron goes into the merger up there. And that's, the reason why I put the merger there is just because I didn't want to have the It was because of the dune here, which made it difficult to have a stackable conveyor pole in the correct spot. So let's have a quick trip out into the mining fields to have a look at the miners now. The copper, not much of a difference there. I removed the lift. Here the lift is no longer going down, but now it's going up. And this is a pure node. The one down here, the lift again is going up, not down. That's a normal iron node underneath here. And then the new node that I connected up is the one over here, which is also a pure node, with the lift going up to the level that I want it on. Now there are more pure iron nodes hiding behind the dunes over here, so those are also going to be tapped, particularly for getting more iron wire, so that we can start getting, I think this one is either a normal or an impure node. With the Mark II miners, that's, yeah, this is impure. Impure, I'm not going to tap impure nodes. That's a copper node. I don't remember what purity this is on. Impure, yeah, no. But there are two nodes. Yep, there are two nodes that I want to show before we end the episode, which is why I haven't bothered with the wet concrete. Let's drive in here. So here's a limestone node. And this one is normal, so that's fine. That would mean we have 3 limestone nodes for making concrete. The one over there I've already tapped. Same with the one that we come to now. So we have 2 limestone nodes currently being tapped for concrete. I should upgrade those to Mark II miners and also increase the amount of constructors. So the final one that I want to show off is, that is also a normal limestone node. We just follow the river here. The farty plants will of course react to our presence, but I don't think any of them actually farted. Now this river has rocks in it. I don't like that. So here we come to the outpost where I have the additional copper node. As you can see in the behind there is another limestone node there, and I am fairly certain that that is also a normal limestone node. So with 4 normal limestone nodes, yep, and also now having unlocked Mark II miners, there really isn't any reason for us to use the wet concrete recipe. Now this one does require, as you can see, encased industrial beams. I can make those manually, but as you can see they require 5 concrete and 4 steel beams per, which means that each assembler making encased industrial beams are going to require 24 steel beams and 30 concrete to create 6 industrial beams per minute. But that, I believe, is about what we have to show off for this specific episode. In the next episode, I think that I'm going to plan out the array for the actual steel production, which means that I want to have an iron smelting array for the ingots, and then I need to redo where the coal comes in. I can combine those 2 coal into a Mark III belt, And I'm thinking that I want to have the steel foundries over here, because we have this large area here that I think would be fitting for a foundry smelting line. I'm going to have to check that out. It might have to be upstairs, but I think that it is possible to do it down here. With that, as always, if you have any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comment section or join us in the Discord, which you will find the link to in the description. As proven by this episode, I take those comments highly serious in regards to answering questions, especially the questions that are for things that are actually really important, like understanding the pipes and the pipelines. That is such a massive thing to understand that I felt it was necessary to dedicate a thorough explanation of it in this episode. But thank you all so very much for joining me, and I will be seeing you all in the next episode.